This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from the movie Now and Then, with mentions of Casper, Saved, Donnie, Darko, and Jumanji. For more, please see show notes. Please note there are also conversations surrounding body image.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing the 1995 coming-of-age classic Now and Then.
Which is also considered a cult classic, but what's crazier is that it's 30 years since this movie came out. It came out, I mean, the day of this episode, it came out October 95. And how it still holds so well. I mean, aside from when we talk about things like it was a time and a place, you had phone books, you had cameras, you had maps, you had payphones and all this stuff. But the core of the story and the plot and just like the storytelling is still so substantial.
Jessica Marie, how did this movie come into your life?
Nobody knows. I don't know. I didn't see it in theater. One day,
well, of course,
it just
we're
was,
not that old.
Never. But I, you know, it was at home one day. It just became one of those movies that was in the house. I guess it was, it was appropriate for, it was a family movie. It was appropriate for all ages. And there wasn't a time that I never remembered not playing it and watching it. Maybe until it was a coming of age movie. I don't remember watching it in high school or anything. Even in watching it for this episode was the first time I had watched it in years.
I agree with you. This movie just kind of came into my life somehow. I have no idea how it came home with me. I watched it at home. I watched it 1,000 times. And just like you, Jess, I had not watched it since I was a child. I think I was like a child when I stopped watching this, and I hadn't seen it since. And then watching it for this episode, I knew every piece of dialogue. I knew all the beats. I knew what was going on, but I was watching it as if I hadn't seen it before because, oh my God, Bonnie Hunt. Oh my God, that's Hank. Oh my God, that's Brendan Fraser. I had no idea who these people were when I was watching it.
Or who Janine Garofalo, Melanie Griffin, these aren't people that were necessarily on our radar at the age when we watched these, but their names now. And it's so crazy, the whole experience. Do you remember what stood out to you? Because I always remember, to no one's surprise, if you've been following for a while, the music. I feel like this was such an introduction to some other classics from this. The movie takes place in the 70s, 1970s specifically, I think. So it is, when we talk about is a time and place, they pulled out what are considered still classics of that era now.
What stood out for me, I will be so real with you, Christina Ricci. Because let me tell you, Christina Ricci and Thora Birch, honestly, too. But Christina Ricci really dominated my childhood. She was everything. Absolutely everything. She just had a hold on me. So I do think my parents were a little bit aware that if she was in something that maybe that could be something that I would like. But I want to go and take an aside and just point out all of the absolute bangers that were released in 1995. A year for children's movies, if there ever was one. All right, let's go. This is the title. I'm not saying it. This is the title, The Indian in the Cupboard. The next, It Takes Two, A Little Princess, The Babysitter's Club, Gold Diggers, Man of the House, Casper, Jumanji, Tom and Huck, a Goofy movie, and Babe. Like, are you kidding me? Christina Ricci is in 3 of these. She's in Casper and Gold Diggers. And let me tell you about Casper. I wore that movie out. That movie ticks every single box that I have. Let me tell you that.
That could, I mean, aside from Beauty and the Beast, that could be a lot of people's introductions to paranormal romance. Because how many of us fell in love with Casper as a ghost before we even saw that he changed to Devon Sawa, who's also in this one as well.
Well, yeah, with Christina. So it was, again, I think also, and this came out at the same time, but, you know, they filmed Casper first. It's very fun. But my parents were probably just like, damn, look at all this stuff that she might like. I don't know. I'm an only child. It's difficult. But this movie, what stood out to me? Okay. Jessica Marie, I know that it is not a surprise to you, but I am at an age where my childhood was a little bit, just like a tiny bit, like how it was depicted in 1970 with all the girls here. Just a little bit. Bicycles were a huge part of my childhood. Huge. Going to other people's houses and having like a group of friends, enormous. And then I moved to Florida, and that changed, and that became more of like a meet in the woods kind of situation. But nobody was really checking on us, and I do feel like that was kind of the last bit of that freedom, and you know, that made childhood really fun. So what stood out to me was that the freedom that these girls had, absolute complete freedom. And then they had that absolutely magnificent treehouse. It's incredible.
Which, when you see that they saved it was $125, $129, whatever it was, which, man, a treehouse, I mean, I didn't do the research to adjust for inflation, but if you think of $120 something now, those 4 girls saved their money so they can create a third place for themselves. And granted, one of the first lines in the movie, and we've discussed this previously on the podcast with third places and coming of age, is this was a time, because when we're in quote unquote the present day, it's 95. And they are referring to the 1970s specifically as it was a time before MTV and Nintendo dominated everything. So they had to create their own fun. And I know this was like such a central, we after seeing this as an adult, because we were so immersed in it as a kid and as kids, but seeing it as an adult, to just have a different perspective and a different appreciation. They talk about the third places. They create, you know, they're at the parks. They're in each other's backyards. They're in the woods. They're going to the library. Like, it's just, they were creating, and maybe we discussed it on Saved, where you were creating your own games and your own fun. And in a way, it's your own shared memories, because here they are 25 years later in their friendships, and they're still having those stories that they get to share. And it's something special, and I think still very rare.
Jessica Marie, who's in this movie, and what is this movie about?
Okay. So, it's kind of like a flashback and I don't want to say flash forward. There are a lot of flashbacks. But it's about a group of 4 girlfriends about basically the last summer. Like, it's that coming of age summer. They're kind of in this cross between being prepubescent and going into puberty and going into high school, and, you know, all the transitions that come in between. You have going from, boys, I don't want to talk. He picks his nose. They're so gross, to they're learning about sex. They're seeing penises. They don't want to be left out. But it's an entire neighborhood that are also going through these all the kids are going through puberty at the same time. They're all hanging out with each other. And then later in the movie, you're like, oh, I have feelings. what happened? This is weird. This is awkward. But I still have my girlfriends through this.
So our girlfriends, who are these girls, Jess?
Well, our girlfriends, I mean, I consider that they're all the leads, all four. They all have their own storyline and they are separate and intersect. Because even at the end of the movie, they say this tree house that they saved for was supposed to be so we got our independence from everybody else and the adults in their lives, but it wound up being that they were finding their independence from each other. But we have Roberta, young Roberta is played by Christina Ricci. Adult Roberta is played by Rosie O'Donnell. Teenie is played by Thora Birch, and young Teenie. And then adult Teenie is played by Melanie Griffith, who, if nobody knows, is Dakota Johnson's mom. You have Sam/Samantha. Young her is played by Gabby Hoffman. Adult her is played by Demi Moore. And you have Chrissy, who's played by Ashley Lee Moore. And adult version is played by Rita Wilson, who, if anybody doesn't know, is Tom Hanks' wife.
Yes, absolutely. Now, when I was a child, I was very much aware of who Demi Moore was. I was like aware of her. I was aware of her movies. The image of her shaving her head for G.I. Jane is like burned into my skull. I remember the press for that, everything. So I was very much aware of Demi Moore and who she was. So this was important. So my question for you, Jess, before we get into this movie is which girl were you? Who were you? Who did you relate to the most here?
I have the same questions I was going to ask you at the end. I think little me, without a doubt, was Chrissy. I was the chubby girl who her friends always had her back. They were like, you're going to need to run. You need to run ahead. You need to get a head start. But had the biggest heart, taking care of her friends, getting mad at her friends when they would like be mean. Cause it's like, I still do that now. We don't joke about drowning. You don't joke about this stuff. Like, this is serious. I still I yell at my niece for it. I was like, I love you so much. I cannot have you play dead in the pool because this is really serious. And a little bit of Roberta when she was over the guys. She was chasing down the guy. I chased down boys on their bikes. I've chased down boys at like the public pool because they tried to pick on my brother and I threw pool furniture at them. Like, I fought boys growing up. So I feel like there is no one. And then the adult version, I feel like I'm a little bit of everyone. I feel like Chrissy was the original Charlotte York, but older me is very much a toss of Roberta and Sam. What about you?
Oh, great question. So I'm an only child, and that means that I am my father's firstborn son. So I was raised very, very tomboyish. So I related the most to Roberta because of all of that. But in my heart of hearts, I wanted to be Samantha. I had the interest in the aliens and the X-Files. I lived across the street from a cemetery. Seances were like something that we did play. Like, this was all like very real life, but I wasn't her. I was her situation, but I was Roberta. So it was difficult. It was difficult. So I was also a mesh of those two. And then now as an adult, I would love to say that I am teeny. Absolutely. Hey, bitches. But no, I think I have also a mixture of Roberta and Sam as an adult. Just kind of like responsible, grounded, good in a crisis, but still a little bit curious and cynical with bad habits.
Yeah, and also what I think is, I don't want to say funny, but with like Tina and Sam as they're older, they left their small town to pursue other things, which is great. Chrissy and Roberta stayed in their small town. And granted, good on Roberta for staying local, getting that in-state tuition to go to med school. But she did come back home and she stayed with Chrissy. And Chrissy kind of she could, I don't want to say like being direct is a bad thing. It's not. But I think she could be judgmental in a hurtful way. Just like when she was like, oh, y'all left and you need to grow up. And I think that's just a general conversation, especially now in 2025, that there are generations older than us that have this preconceived notion of what it means to grow up. Those societal expectations of check boxes you should be, you should be fulfilling. And then that constitutes you as a grown up. And I feel like Chrissy was holding her expectations as an adult, quote unquote, what an adult is. You have Sam writing books, and you have Teenie, who's always wanted to be in Hollywood, leaving the town. That doesn't make them any less of an adult than Chrissy staying at home, deciding to pursue motherhood.
And she says, Chrissy, you make me feel old. And later, Samantha is just like, I don't understand parenthood. It's just this cycle. I mean, she's not wrong. And, that's when Chrissy's like, well, both of you just need to grow up. Like, look at Roberta, she might live in sin, but she's a doctor. Like,
which was really interesting because they say before the I live in sin, part of the initial line is she lives an alternative lifestyle. Again, this was 95, and this was years before Rosie had come out, and they threw in the living in sin last minute because there was a point in one of the fun facts that I had read where she was going to be, they were going to have her character, Roberta's character, come out as lesbian. And then they were like, it's 95. Maybe not so much. Again, the times.
And it's very obvious when you look at it too. She just screams lesbian in like the most wonderful way. It's just like one of those very obvious things. But again, a time, a place, it just can't be done. Rosie was very upset about it. Everybody on set was very upset about it. They all wanted it to be there, and it was like taken out last minute. It was a whole thing. Okay. Did you ever play Red Rover?
Yes, I hated it. You?
Yeah.
People are mean. They clothesline you.
Yeah, I was one of those kids.
You clothesline people?
I am an Aries. I am so aggressive when I play games. It is so important that I don't play games, and I actively choose to not participate in any sort of contact sport like that because I just will fucking take you out. And so no. But
I like the lock arm thing. I had never done that. And I was like, why didn't I do that? I was not a runner. Don't make me run in Red Rover. But I can like hold on. Why nobody thought I've never played anybody who arm locked, and that was brilliant. Rewatching this?
Oh yeah. Arm lock. Let me tell you, don't let me play dodgeball. That's another one. Damn. But yeah, so this was very fun. I'll tell you, I never really played this in a neighborhood setting, but I did play it in school a lot before it was, taken out of schools.
It wasn't taken out of schools?
It was, oh yeah, you can't play this anymore. Know. You can't play this anymore. They took this out a while ago. Nothing about this. But it kind of really sets the tone. You get to see like the kids, the wardrobe, the time, the place, the music, excellent. And then, All for One, we have to do all of this summer full of kids. Woo. But then we have the voiceover, and we are going home because Chrissy's having her baby, and they all made a pact when they were 12 to be there for each other. Here's something, Jessica Marie, that I will admit, forget about this movie, is that I forgot that it was like a mystery movie. Like it's about all of these things, but the plot is
there's an
like
underlying plot. Yeah.
It's like a haunting, which is just like so fun. I just love that so much. And something else that I really love too is like the little detail of like in this very beginning part when Roberta and Teenie and Samantha are on the swing, and Roberta is pushing them. She's pushing and pushing as they're adults, and then it transitions and they're still pushing as children in the same spots. I just love that.
Well, this goes back to, I know we were talking about before the podcast, before we started recording, where I feel like we're so old every time we say this, but we're also doing a lot of rewatching and a lot of revisiting things, both in literature and just media in general. And they really don't make them like they used to, because here we are talking about this movie that was released 30 years ago. And if you timestamp today of anything that's come out, what would hold well? Like, what would transcend that storytelling? And it's difficult to pinpoint, because there are so many things going on with the story, including like a mystery underlying, but there is girlhood at the center and third places being something that is very few and far between. And I know we both picked up on this, but you saw it as such a central part of the plot, I should say, that probably when this movie was released, that was probably not what was at the forefront of the filmmaker's mind.
No, there were still third places when this movie was released. There were still third places when I was in high school. They have just died. There's also a very subtle subplot of your parents can't always be trusted. The media is lying to you, and peace overall. That's also a thread through it that Samantha follows, like, Brendan, I see you. And so it is very complicated. But then it's just so fun and filled with all of these moments. Okay, so the Gaslight Edition is where all of these girls live, and it was the height of the times in 1970, a pre-planned community, out with the old and with the new, fantastic stuff. And the kids have the run of it in the summer. Everybody's got their bikes. Like, oh, I love it so much. Okay, so it is interesting and wonderful that all of these girls have their own unique personalities, right? Like, Roberta's a tomboy, Teeny is like the fashionista, Samantha is into like the weird shit, and Chrissy is Chrissy. Chrissy's looking out for everybody. Chrissy's got an eye on everybody, and she's suspicious, and her parents did her a disservice by using gardening as a metaphor for sex.
Which it is also so funny, because it's the parents. I mean, I know I've shared my wild ass trauma of my parents trying to talk to me about sex, and it was just like, don't lay down and make out in your bed. And like Chrissy says, you can't lead to French kiss. You can't French kiss, because then it's going to let boys think you want more. And I mean, talk about being sheltered. It's just like another layer. I was like, oh my God, I'm Chrissy. Oh my God, I'm so Chrissy, which is hilarious to watch in hindsight. It's, everything has to be prim. Everything has to be proper. You have to keep up with appearances. You are a representative of this household. And she was very much like that, and it was just, I love all of them. But that bubble that Chrissy is kept in, and even I don't want to say peer pressured, because she's not. She peer pressures herself when there's a scene where the boys are all like skinny dipping in the lake, and Sam, Roberta, and Teeny all see one of the boys' penises, and she's like, well, now I have to. And they were like, no, nobody's making you. Fine, I'll do it. Because she has to mask her genuine curiosity, because her parents have shamed her or made her feel shame.
And speaking of parents, Samantha's parents are getting a divorce, and we meet Samantha's mom, and Samantha is embarrassed of her because the girls are like, oh my gosh, look at her. Like, her boots are so tall, her skirt is so short. And Samantha's like, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, my mother has decided to dress like Nancy Sinatra, and it was so fucking embarrassing. I gotta say, she looked amazing, though.
She looked amazing, but again, when at the age we first saw this movie, we didn't know it. As the adult watching it now, you're like, oh, she's single, she is on the prowl, and she knows she's hot shit.
Absolutely. And we have an introduction to Janine Garofalo. She's our waitress. She's also our witch, our mystic. She'll come into play later. And we have seances. I just love it. I love these seances. I love that, like, nobody really bothers them. I love that they can all sneak out. I love that it's safe to do all of this stuff.
No, exactly. Like, I think the safety is such a big part. I remember you've shared some stories of when you lived in Michigan. You lived near, across from a cemetery. And that was one of the places that even your dad would say, this is a safe place. You were allowed to be here. Go there. And you and your neighbor, you would do these things together. And I think it's so and even Teeny taking out the Cosmo quizzes, like doing the Cosmo quizzes and we exchanged one the other day. We do them probably at least once a week. We still do it. So it's still such a part of girlhood that just transcends.
Absolutely. And Chrissy, something about girlhood that transcends, I guess, but Chrissy on her bullshit during this fake possession at this seance, funny. It's funny. I'd be so fucking mad at her. Oh my gosh. You know how badly, that's the thing, like part of me was Samantha, like I want to believe so badly. Just let me have this, Chrissy. It's our last summer before we're like preteens. Like, let me have this. And Chrissy's like, absolutely not. But then she scares herself shitless, and that's karma.
That's me. How many times can I tell you? And if you're from Florida, you're going to be so familiar with this. The times that I've almost gone to Casadega between 12 and 3, and we were so close to, like, the headstone that's really, really tall, that it's like the devil's chair or whatever it's called in Casadega, and it was the middle of the night. I'm pretty sure I scared myself shitless, and I was like, we can't do it anymore. We can't do it anymore. And I was so for it, moments leading up to it. And then, like, the witching hour came, and I was like, I can't do it.
Can't do it. It's
so
scary.
I was like, it was just like another, like, oh my God, Chrissy Core. Maybe I'll just have as Chrissy for Halloween.
It's so funny, too, because, like, just for dramatics, the lightning, there's, like, lightning, and then the headstone's, like, cracked when they, like, go there because they're trying to contact Dear Johnny to find out how he died because the seances. It's just so fun. And then they're just, they see an old man on the bike. He'll be important later. He's important later. Okay. I think that a really important part of childhood that has probably, I'm almost certain, has probably died out is the tin can phone. The tin can phone. Because after this happens, none of the girls can really sleep. Everybody's like kind of up, and Samantha has like a moment in her room where like everything is windy and it goes still, and she's like, oh my gosh, there's been paranormal activity here. Oh my gosh. And she like has to tell everybody. There is a coming of age movie that came out in like 92, 93. That's all about boys, actually, called Three Ninjas. And I also watched the shit out of Three Ninjas. Saw it recently, still slaps. But they also have a tin can phone situation. And I just love that the parents like let this happen, right? 2, that they use it. 3, that they're so comfortable doing it, and there's such an elaborate system. So, like, how does it go? It goes, I have the order. Samantha to Roberta to Teeny to Chrissy. Base to Chrissy. What? We need to have a meetup. And they meet up, and this is where they see that Dear Johnny's headstone has been cracked. And the resolution to that specific mystery is like the nail in the coffin, so to speak, to their childhood.
Yeah, and we talk about time and place and phone tree, and like, yeah, their parents let them do that. The parents didn't know. Parents just had kids to have kids. They didn't want to raise them. If their friends were your friends were raising each other at that point. Like, if y'all came back to live together, I mean, I think that's also why the grandma was, Samantha's grandma was so welcoming. She's like, oh, good, 4 of you together. Because, I mean, strength in numbers. Nobody else was looking out for you except each other.
And that's really, really, really apparent when, after doing just the briefest amount of research in their local library, they discover that they need to go at least 9 miles away to Greenfield to the library to see the archives of the paper to see if they can find out how Dear Johnny died. Remember, this is 1970. Computers, what are those? What are those? So without any parental anything, all 4 of those girls fuck off all day and ride at least 18 miles on their bicycles.
Time and place. And as long as you were back before the street lights turned on. You know, you had shared, like, when you were in Michigan, do you remember just riding your bike that was your only mode of transportation?
Yeah. Not where my house was specifically, but I had my best friend had a whole community of friends that we would all hang out with when I would be at her house, which was all the time. So that we were just like a little gang, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Ugh. I hope that children still have that feeling of fun in a similar situation.
Yeah, I can't even say freedom because, I know I share stories on here with my niece, but there's too many. I think like a crazy because, one, I know the shit that I went through, but you have to think of the crazies out there. Like, I would never want that to be on my watch because there is like such a sense of freedom, especially at this age. I mean, I remember one summer, I think my neighbor had taught me how to learn to ride my bike. I knew how to ride my bike, but taught me how to do it without my hands. So I was able to like steer the bike and lean into it in a certain whatever way. I was like, that is the coolest thing. The freedom that you had where you can just like listen to music and not hold the handlebars. I thought I was the shit.
You were just like people that can ice skate backwards, that elusive thing. You were the shit. Absolutely you were. Absolutely you were. Hey, Jess, truth or dare?
Wait, do you want me to answer? I'll say I always said truth. I was like, Chris, I always said truth. You said dare. You always did dare, didn't you?
I did always do dare, but these girls always say truth, and it's so cute. So truth or dare, how big are your boobs now? Such fantastic conversations having at this lunch table on our way to the Greenfield Library because we get Teeny's boobs filled with pudding. When I tell you, I remember when she first pulled that out, I was like, oh my God, they're talking about stuffing their bra. That's so cool. They're so cool. They're so old and like awesome.
And Teeny was so advanced because most people in these coming of age are like stuffing your bra with like tissues or toilet paper, whatever. And she's like, no, actually, when the boys sent the the water balloons when it was filled with Jello, they gave me the idea. I was like, wait, the Jello is a little jiggly. What if we do pudding and it's a better consistency? I mean,
texture.
Teeny loved her boys, but again, like, I mean, you can argue she was exposed to more a lot earlier because she was an only child.
Yeah. And she had country club parents who left her alone a lot. It's just this whole thing. I really love the girls' like relationship dynamic during this entire trip to Greenfield because we have this like bonding at lunch. We have the like knock 3 times, on the bicycles, this like thing. And then Chrissy wants a break and they go into the lake. She gets bird shit in her hair. She goes into the lake. Roberta does a death joke, which nobody appreciates, honestly, but Chrissy takes charge, right? She's got the biggest heart, Jess, as you said, and goes to give her CPR. Obviously, Roberta's fine. Chrissy socks her in the jaw. Love that. We love holding your friends accountable. But I also really appreciated as an adult, what I didn't appreciate as a child, is that as an adult, they say that, like, this is not the first time that Roberta did this. Like, she's done this before, and Roberta has a dead mom, and none of us have ever had any sort of anything like that. So we don't understand what she's going through, and she is trying to make death funny, and it's just not hitting with us. So
yeah, she leans in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, it wasn't until, again, because some of this story and the narration is being told in hindsight with the adult versions of themselves, where they acknowledge that Roberta definitely leaned into dark humor as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And I do think, again, for a movie in 95, it just, in a way, it kind of felt ahead of its time, recognizing that, acknowledging that, even when Roberta/Rosie O'Donnell says, they're talking about generational trauma, and they're acknowledging that you would go to therapy for this openly in mainstream media.
Well, I think, again, just kind of building on what you're saying, the appreciation when Christina Ricci has her first of 2 freakouts, and this first freakout happens when they make it to the library, and she sees the article from her mom's death, and she's reading it in black and white, like what actually happened, and like how long she was stuck, and like what happened at the accident, and if, when she died. And she's realizing that her dad lied to her about this whole situation. And as an adult, you're like, yes, he did that to protect you, because those are fucking horrifying details.
But you were 4 when this happened.
But watching it as a child, you're like, oh my God, why did he lie to you? Like, are you kidding? That's your mom. Like, you have a right to know. Like, so I really love being at this big age, being able to remember how I felt as a child watching this, and then see the other side of it on this too. Like, now and then, I'm sure that's the point. But that's just kind of the beauty of this movie too, is that, like you're saying, Jess, it still holds up, and it has this discussion of grief, because later when Roberta just crashes out and she admits everything to her friends, and like, we have this big emotional moment that kind of spurs our pact. That too is just an exploration of grief, that like all of your feelings are valid here. Like she fucking breaks something in a house that is not hers. And everyone's like, yeah, no, you're good. It's cool. We understand.
Because this is also probably I can't say probably. It is the first time that she's sharing very real and raw emotions, because it's the first time she's having them, that she's recognizing them. It had been, her dad had put her in her own bubble, protective bubble of sorts. And then because, she has brothers, she doesn't give a fuck. And then the loneliness that comes immediately after. He's the only person left for me, and he lied.
It's like heavy shit for this. And remember, they're supposed to be like 12. So amazing. Jessica Marie, why don't you tell me about Brendan Fraser as this hippie here?
Brendan Fraser through all the eras. But he's kind of, he's a veteran on the road looking for the next destination, and the girls are intrigued. They're asking him all the questions. They want to come back. And he gives them all each a cigarette, except Chrissy. Chrissy's like, it's going to stunt your growth. And he's talking to them like adults, and they're being so inquisitive, and just like, they're very straightforward with their questions for adults that they interact with in this movie. But I think there's something to be said. There is a level of respect, especially at these formative ages, where you're not being spoken to as a kid, even though you're very much in this coming age in between, 2 versions of yourself, and you're growing. And Brandon, he talks to them like adults. He answers their questions like adults. And one of the last things that Sam says, she goes, I hope you find what you're looking for, wherever your journey takes you. And it was just something so small, but I also think it's just shows the depth of Samantha's character, that she was always so astute, whether it's with Old Man Pete, whether it's with Brennan. Like, she was always taking in everything around her and picking up on the quiet things. I mean, even at the beginning of the movie, she's definitely a character where she sees her dad leave. She sees him pack up and go. And then she even also says, when there's the sister moment of her sister coming into bed with her, there is she said her parents fighting felt calming, and like, that felt like the relief. Because if anybody has been in those situations, when things are good, that's what's unsettling, because that's not the norm.
You were talking about growth. Smoking stunts your growth, and treating them like adults. Brendan Fraser offering all of them cigarettes and all of them smoking. Fantastic. Again, as a child, oh my God, they're so cool. Oh my God, amazing. Definitely influential. Definitely. Will report, I live in a college town. The kids are smoking the cigarettes again. I'm seeing the buds everywhere.
Seeing it so much now. I don't know if people have been like, oh, we've learned that vapes are frying, so we'll just transition to cigarettes. I'm noticing it all the time now.
All the time. So maybe we're all just want to go back to the 90s. Who can say? Really, really great scene. Obviously did not know who Brendan Fraser was when I was a child. Just this gorgeous man who's always been with me. I guess like George of the Jungle and Encino Man. Like he's always been there. He's just like one of these constants in my life that I didn't realize, you know, just like you don't realize that, Gary is in everything. You're just like, oh, serious. Oh, you're in absolutely everything. Okay. Super fun. So when we kind of expand on that, did you realize on this rewatch that the little sister is Rumor Willis?
I didn't realize it, but my fun facts told me she was.
When I was watching as an adult, because especially during this scene with Samantha, her mom and her sister eating dinner, and her sister says she wants her daddy, and the mom's getting kind of annoyed, like, he's not here, you can't see him now, and grandma's like beating on the door, like, hide from grandma, hide from grandma. I was really looking at the sister, and I was like, who are you? Like, you look familiar, because Rumor Willis has a very distinct, like, head shape. And when I did the thing and I saw, I was like, who is she? And then again, fun facts was like, oh yeah, that's Rumor Willis. I was like, of course it is. What? Awesome.
And under a different stage name, according to IMDb at that time, which makes sense because Bruce and Demi were so protective of their kids. I mean, they lived outside of Hollywood in Idaho.
Yeah,
as like their main residence.
And like, you know, Demi's on set, so it was like this whole kind of family thing. Like, how fun. But these girls meet Brendan Fraser 2 miles from Shelby, so they're on their way home. They have done it. They have found out that dear Johnny and his mother were murdered. But I love that they're like, oh my God, we need to find the oldest person that we know. Who is the oldest person that we know? My grandma. All right, cool. My grandma's playing poker and we can't see her until tomorrow. So let's consult a witch. I love the logic of children.
But not only is it logic, I know there's a conversation, and one that has been proven through studies, that people's cognitive part of their brain and thinking, and when it comes to critical thinking, is not as strong as it used to be. There is a lot to be said about, I don't even want to say relying on Google, relying on AI, relying on ChatGPT, relying on other people, because you don't feel like, and not just hey, you know, I saw this, like, I know sometimes I'll go to Editor Sam about questions and I'll say, look, I know what I'm reading, but I know you have a way to translate it to me so I can understand and really absorb what I'm trying to learn. And I think about that in these situations because they didn't have Google, they didn't have AI. So their logic is, well, let's use our resources. What are those next things? Because they had card catalogs to go to the archives. Where else? Let's go to grandma's attic because she has scrapbooks. Let's go to these resources that what else is there? We have to find the resources firsthand and not let somebody else collate it for us.
Which is so funny because they go to Janine, you know, 10 treehouse bucks for this. And she just like throws down the 10 of swords and everyone's like, ooh. And they're like, see, he was murdered. Okay, cool. Tarot reading. Talking to old people. Jess, you mentioned earlier that you fought boys growing up. Well, I think it's no surprise. I did too. And
yeah, you did. That's my friend.
Yeah.
That's my best friend.
I fought boys too. I fought them at school. I fought them outside of school. It became an issue. I also, yeah.
Did your parents get called or was it hidden? Because a lot of these fights, we talk about parents not caring. They did a lot of things under the radar.
Parents were called. Parents were definitely called.
I love that.
Here's a story for everybody. My first day of preschool, I bit somebody. I bit somebody so hard that not only was my mom called, but I was asked to stay home for the rest of the week. It would try again next week. I was labeled as a biter. I was not, however, a biter. I was not a biter. I never bit another kid again. However, that child was trying to touch my backpack. And you know what? No.
That's on the child. Because it's like you said, they labeled you something and you were like, I stood up for myself and now I'm being penalized.
Well, that's the thing. My dad said, if you're going to start it, finish it. So.
Oh, yeah. That was mine too. It's like, I don't want you to start a fight, but you sure as hell better finish it. And if you're standing, and mine was like, also, if you were standing up for your siblings, we'll go for ice cream after.
Yeah.
So I was like, hello, did we not see Chrissy eating a Twinkie? I was going to get rewarded for some ice cream. You bet your ass I'm going to fight some kids.
Yep. So when all of the girls go to the softball game and Roberta just decks that heckler and starts fighting, and then Samantha jumps in and starts fighting, loved it. Loved it.
So yeah, because Samantha's definitely, because she was kind of with Chrissy, like, come on, Roberta, we don't need to go there. And then she went like, oh, it was one thing for you to kind of heckle her for nothing. Now that's my best friend.
Yep.
Shoots down. And you can see the pride in herself, how disheveled she was. She's like, yeah, I kicked that kid's ass.
Kicked his ass. Just fantastic stuff. Oh my gosh. But then of course, like Samantha has to go home to Hank Azaria being just the cringiest boyfriend to mom. Just so bad. It's just awkward. I don't want to get into it because it's awkward. It's weird. I hate it.
He feels so sleazy.
He feels so sleazy. Hi, Samantha. How are you? And it's also like, don't do that. Just be who you are. You don't need to be this. You're such a wonderful man. You don't need to play this sleazeball. But, you know, we're supposed to feel that way because Samantha just wants her dad. And like, here's this gross guy. Like, ew. And she even says, like, my dad will take us. Like, my dad. She drops it all the time. And eventually you can tell he gets pissed off and he leaves and like mom and Samantha, like, you know, like pushes away from the dinner table. It's preteen angst. And you know what? We love that. And she's upset. So what does she do? She sneaks out. She goes to Teeny, who's watching movies on her roof. And they go try out the treehouse at Sears. I love.
Really? I mean, I think, and we've talked about this, like different groups when it comes to girlhood. And I think it's just a general conversation is that not only a strong group, not only are you strong together as your quorum, but you have different relationships with those within the group. And I think that's also established so well in this movie, nor does it take away from the friendships that they have established together and with other dynamics. Because Roberta and Chrissy are very much the same way. And there's no insecurity going on with how the dynamics are being shared.
Yeah, and which I think is funny because what we have here is like a split scene. We have Samantha and Teeny in the like garden part of Sears, breaking in and testing out their treehouse and having these like deep conversations about like parents don't know shit and like there are no perfect families. It's normal for things to be shitty. I lied. My parents are getting a divorce. All of these like big revelations. Sam is finally getting all of these off of her chest to Teeny. Their big moment of Teeny breaking her necklace and making them their bracelets. Like it's all so incredibly special. And then, they drop the line, half the population's going to be divorced in 10 years. And she's like, I don't believe that. We love.
Meanwhile, 2025, it's up to more than 50%. I think it's between 54 and 60%.
Yep. We love. I do want to point out, we haven't brought it up yet, but this is a good point too, that Chrissy is considered the chubby one here. She does not look chubby. looking at it, she is not chubby. Everybody kind of looks the same. Yeah, but I remember her as chubby.
Yeah. And they portray her as, and I think that's also like, maybe like that was the intended impact. I mean, she definitely styled her. Yeah. With her clothes were a little bit more snug. And then I think when you're compared to other people around you who might be a little bit slimmer, that automatically, like, I remember in high school, God, what I would do, but like, I was between 123 and 125. And I know like weight is so different now and how we see ourselves and body positivity. But when I was the 123, 125, and I had friends who were 103, 105, 115, that fucks with your head a lot.
It does.
And you know, you see you're up against a group like that already does some things internally.
And it is kind of ingrained too, because one of the moments that we have with Samantha and Teenie is like, okay, if you were stuck on a desert island with all of us, who would you eat first? And she says Chrissy, because there's more of her. And it's just like it's part of what it was. It's just, you know, it's a weird kind of relic in all of these movies.
Well, and even when they were initially doing their first seance at the beginning, they were like, oh, Chrissy. She's like, I look so fat in this. You are fat. She's like, I'm not fat. Am I fat? Like, there's a deep insecurity there, and it keeps being perpetuated throughout the film.
Yeah, and she's the one that's pregnant. Like, it's always, you know, there's always a body thing going on with Chrissy. So just thought to point it out. We don't have anything going on with Chrissy here because Roberta has to kiss some boys. And we love this, you know.
Boys or Devon Sawa? That is very, very different.
I mean, one and the same here. And I love that they have like a prior, you know, working situation when they made Casper together. Like she recommended him for this job and he got it and they like really kicked it off. He said that like he was the only 15-year-old boy on a cast of the 4 most gorgeous girls that he'd ever seen. Like we love that, Devon. Like, we love it. But this awkwardness that they have, he's like telling her how to like play basketball and they like play a little bit. She's like, do you want to hang out? And they have this moment on the fence. And this is too what I want to point out specifically is since we're talking about moments that are just like the nail in the coffin of their childhood and of really summer too, is, Devon as Scott is sitting like a foot up away from Roberta and he asks her like, why do we fight all of the time? And she's like, I don't know. It's just like something to do. And he's like, well, yeah, but like, I think that you are like really nice. And she's like, I thought you hated me. And you can tell it's like a switch in his brain. He's like, I thought so too. I thought I hated you too, but I do not. And they get to the point where it's like, can I kiss you? Which is so funny and such a rip on Can I Keep You, which is just so lovely. Casper. I mean, I love Casper. And they kiss. And then Roberta says like, if you tell anybody about this, especially your brothers, I will beat the ever living shit out of you. And you know what? We love that for her. Go off. But this moment is so real.
And you know what? He doesn't. But and everybody's clocking it when they're making eyes at each other all the time. And then she's like, maybe he's not that bad, you know, because she's uncomfortable in her awkwardness because she's coming to terms like, oh, it's a boy. We're not supposed to like boys, and I like the boy. Because again, just like you said, there's a switch for Scott, Devon's character. There's a switch for Roberta too. And I think in our voiceover by Sam is, and that is the day that she stops taping down her boobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's when they're painting the fence. Fantastic. Not fantastic. And a scene that I skipped all the time as a child was this storm drain drama that is happening. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so dramatic. It scared me as a kid. Samantha loses her bracelet. She goes down into the sewer. She kind of gets it. There's a torrential downpour and she's drowning in the sewer. And we've got old man Pete jumping in there and saving her, hitting them with the line of like, why are you afraid of me? as they're dripping wet, drowning, shaken, trauma. Like, oh my gosh. This was, when I was little, I also kind of, would fast forward through certain scenes in The Little Mermaid that were scary. Just, I didn't like it. And this is one of those scary scenes that I didn't like as a kid.
This scene, it made, because of course I'm thinking of like history. I was like, I wonder if drains were really that big, because a whole ass teenager is jumping down them. And it made me wonder, connecting the dots with, isn't that the lore of like how with it and the clown lures them into the drain? And then I was like, I wonder if that's why drains are smaller now, because of the liability.
Because of it.
Yeah. Well,
because of the clowns in the drain. Because of the clowns, we have to keep them in.
No, but I was like, the size of it, because the size of the drain. I go, a whole person. Is this why they started making drains smaller? Because of liability?
You know what? That'd be a really good question. This whole thing is very scary. So we get this information from Pete. He's like, well, I don't like to see a lot of people, and people don't like to see a lot of me. It's like, okay. Then we're painting the fence. We're painting the fence, Jess. This is the eyes that we're making. This is the stop taping our boobs. You know, oh, maybe he's not so bad. We love. But then we go to Grandma, and I love Grandma. I love Grandma. She's a spitfire. She's a gambler. She's fantastic.
Cloris Leachman. I was like, why do I know this grandma? And then I looked it up. I was like, it's Cloris Leachman, who
Absolutely
in my head
amazing.
Has always been old. I don't know. It's kind of like Steve Martin. He's always been old.
Always been old. She's wonderful. She says that she remembers Johnny and his mom's death, and she doesn't want to talk about it, but her late husband has a bunch of shit up in the attic that she hasn't gotten rid of. But get out of our house. Get out. She's got to go play bingo. And they do. And then the girls break into the attic, which I think is so funny. And this is the freak out that Roberta has. They find out that Peter Sims, old man Pete, Peter Sims found the dead bodies of Johnny, his son, and his wife murdered, and he came home late because he was at the bar. And Roberta hears this, and she equates it to her own pain because she's a child. And she's like, you know, everything is not okay. This is not okay. Why did they have to die? Why did she have to die? It's not fair. He lied to me. He said that a beautiful angel swooped down to earth and carried her away before she had a moment to feel any pain. It's so stupid. He lied to me. He's all I have left, and he lied. And this is Roberta, like, being so cathartic. She's sharing all of her pain. All of her friends are around her. And it is a real moment for them. And really wonderful to watch as an adult, too.
Oh, yeah. Did you cry? Did you tear up? Because I sobbed.
No, I did not cry, just because I was just playing it in my head. All the beats. Yeah. Like, all of it. I honestly, I was clocking how, Roberta's arms are back a lot, as if she's unused to the fullness of her boobs.
Yeah.
So she walks, she does her arms back a lot.
Her boobs are protruding a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, that's funny. But this is also when, well, I mean, Chrissy says, like, you know, Shelby is a safe town. If murder can happen here, imagine what the rest of the world is like, setting up for Chrissy to remain in safe Shelby. But this is also where she's like, look, Roberta, your dad is not all you have left. You've got all of us. And then Samantha drops the banger about her dad leaving and her parents getting a divorce. And Chrissy's like, all right. Pact time. Let's make a pact now. Our pact is, if any of us needs each other, we are all there, no questions asked, no matter what, for life. And everyone's like, yeah, bitch, for life. All for one for all.
Chrissy continues. I mean, it's no surprise that she's also pregnant in this, because Chrissy is very much the mother of the group. She's the caretaker. She really takes lead, and she wants, like, and she continues that and wanting to be that for her child. And again, nothing wrong with it, because I love that she she puts all the bullshit aside at the same time. Because when push comes to shove, she's there and she's the one showing up. And you know, if any of the others had called her saying they need her, she'd be on the first flight.
Yeah, absolutely. No questions asked. So we are wrapping up. This is like towards the tail end of it. We have to put Johnny to rest. Our last seance, our last bit of childhood here. We're putting Johnny to rest and we're feeling it. We feel very confident. We know what's happening. Give us a sign. There's lights and there's fog and there's noise, but it is just a cemetery worker coming to replace the headstone that he accidentally knocked over with his tractor. He's like, oh, really? Resurrected? Cool. And that's when everybody just kind of breaks and it's like, actually, we're done and we're not going to play make-believe stuff like this anymore. And we're not kids.
You learn, again, true to coming of age, it tracks and you can't suspend disbelief anymore. It's that weird period, right? Because, it's just like, if you find out that's, Santa might not be, I don't know if you're listening to this around kids. Santa might not be real physically in some forms, but he is a spirit of the heart. Just like when you want to mock Disney adults all the time, Disney's aren't, those characters are very true. And there's this weird period in the coming of age moments, like Halloween, at least for Laura and I don't know if this still transcends, where you start thinking, you're growing up. You're becoming more of an adult. I don't need to do these things. I'm too cool for these things. I need to present a certain way. And you do you lose the magic for a little bit. And I know there's the ongoing conversation of your 30s are the time that you get to lean in the things that you loved as a kid. And sometimes it takes a bit to bring that magic back, especially if it's been kind of stomped out of you for a period of time.
So our childhood is over. Samantha has thrown away all of her seance stuff. She sees our old man Pete, and we have Pete's confession of like, I was dear Johnny's father. I thought I could have stopped it. I wasted all of these years. I was afraid of myself. I was afraid of people. He drops the advice that Samantha will give all of us later. He says, things will happen in your life that you can't stop, but that's no reason to shut out the world. There's a purpose for the good and for the bad. I hate that advice personally, but you know what? To each his own. And then we're in the treehouse. We're in the treehouse and everybody's adding their personal touches. And this is the end of the summer, Jess. And this is the line that you alluded to earlier. We wanted the treehouse to get independence from everybody else, but we ended up getting the treehouse and we got independence from each other.
And then we flash forward to come back to present day. Mm-hmm. And Chrissy's water broke. She's going into labor. Demi's freaking out. I say Demi, Samantha's freaking out, not knowing what to do. She's kept everybody at a distance because it protects her heart. Relatable. You get that. And then you have Teeny on her bullshit, not in a bad way. She's like, why are we freaking out? Why are we driving? Hello, I have a driver. Let's get this shit. And you have Roberta taking lead for Chrissy, because Chrissy's always the one taking like control and lead for her. She's like, again, a moment of relapse. He's like, the driver's even like, I can drive you. Roberta's like, nope, I don't need safe driving. Let's get to it driving. And we all get to the hospital. Chrissy gives birth, and it's another little girl to add to their found family of each other. And then this motherfucker husband of hers, am I late? The fuck? Now he's not getting your last name, but this is Chrissy.
Well, to be fair, Jess, he's a dentist. Would you like him running out during your dental work to go have a baby? And you're like,
how bad was the procedure? Was it like a cavity? And also
scale.
What I have, but see, this is where I'm having questions. How far are the contractions? When did they call you? Typically, you could finish your final procedure in 45 minutes, an hour and a half, and you haven't given birth. I mean, we know this to nobody's surprise listening. I would be having the factors, the things in play. But we also find out that her husband is the boy she fucking hated growing up that makes an appearance trying to hit on her. And she's like, leave me alone. Ew.
Hello, dear. Hello, dear. There's also a moment between Chrissy and Roberta where both of them are like crying and they're like, I love you. I love you. Very sweet moment that, again, didn't play well when they wrote Roberta as gay, because the audience did not respond well to Roberta also being a gynecologist. That was something that they were like, actually, though, why would a gay woman be a gynecologist? That's weird. It can be one or the other. Yeah. So,
again, time and place, because here I am trying to be like, and why are straight men gynecologists?
Well, they shouldn't be. But again, time and place, 95, 94, really. So again, that's just one of those fun facts. But yes, okay, so we have a baby. Excellent. We have kids on bikes because that's still a thing here. Chrissy still lives there. They're playing Red Rover. We're passing our baby in the treehouse. We're doing Truth or Dare. This is when we get the line from Samantha where she calls back to what she said, to what Teeny said. I just thought it was normal for things to be kind of shitty. I have not had any serious relationships. I keep everybody at a distance. I just, don't have the happy gene really. And everyone's looking at her like, okay. But, maybe we can all kind of keep in touch a little bit more and kind of really water the roots of this found family, because they hadn't seen each other in 10 years.
Yeah, and I think it also says a testament to their friendship of how deep it went too, that they really understood that, yeah, there can be distance, but they still wanted to find a way to be there for each other. And again, time and place, because technology really wasn't accessible. I mean, these are the times where you didn't catch up with high school, your class reunions, or when you found out what was going on, or if there was a newsletter. I mean, it was so different that going a length of time without connecting with your friends was very normal, and it didn't lessen the friendship, I guess. But I also think I almost felt like rewatching this and Chrissy saying nope, we're going to do these packs. We're going to be more mindful of our connection and our friendship moving forward. And it felt like Charlotte York in Sex and the City, it felt like she was the original Charlotte York, Chrissy, where she was like, you have us. You're not alone. Let's keep the pact going. Because Charlotte says, you know what, maybe we can be each other's soulmates. Everybody is always so focused on romantic love and soulmates that maybe we be each other's soulmates. And guys are just these fun things, these things that we kind of have fun with. And I feel like Chrissy is kind of saying that here. She's like, we need to prioritize each other a little bit more. And they actively, at the same time, all accept accountability and keep being distant from each other. But also, again, acknowledging how they can improve and move forward in their friendships.
And they end the movie playing Red Rover as adults in the same order. Chrissy and Roberta, holding hands, lock it in again. And we have our voiceover. I have to embrace the past to be able to move forward. He said, the poet that Demi Moore quotes in the beginning, he said that, you couldn't go home again, but I'm glad I found my way home. Everything is better now. And that is wonderful. And then we fade it now and then, don't have to look back. It's the soundtrack is amazing. I have a few fun facts, Jessica Marie. Would you like to see them? Would you like to hear
Of course.
All right. I need a pencil to cross them out. All right. This movie, Marlene King wrote this movie, age 10, very much her childhood. Her sister, Sandra, was based on Samantha. The adult and the young cast were never on set together. Everybody involved in the movie had to convince Rosie O'Donnell to do this. She did not want to do this. They had to ambush her and make it with her while. And eventually it wasn't because they took out the gay storyline. Let's see. Thora Birch said that they were like sisters on set and that they fought. And that's how they knew that they were like very, very close. I said, Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon were supposed to be Brendan Fraser, but they bailed out and it went to Brendan at last minute and he nailed it. There was the bird that was scaring the girls in the cemetery was supposed to be an owl, but it died on set. So they used a hawk instead. Whoops. They used real pudding. Thora Birch had never ridden a bike before. So if you watch it back, she's always falling over. The OG title of this movie was the Gaslight Edition, the subdivision where it is basically set. The rumor that if you had strong pause game, you could see Diamond's penis is false. He says that they were all wearing multiple layers of socks, which for 14 and 15-year-old boys was humiliating. Christina Ricci was obsessed with Pulp Fiction. She saw it over 15 times. Kirsten Dunst was almost cast as Chrissy, but she didn't want to gain weight for the role. In 2012, there was going to be an ABC Family adaptation of this, and it didn't happen. And this movie, Jessica Marie, has a whopping 19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
This is where the critics are wrong. Critics are wrong. I'm going to shame them. You have no taste. And no, you know what? This movie was from 95. So those critics are probably dead. So who's getting the last laugh now? But you know what? I was thinking, and we've had this conversation, maybe specifically with Donnie Darko, with music rights and music licensing. This feels like we talk about owning physical media, right? I need to add to my list of physical media, because there may be a point if this, we both streamed this. Where did you stream it? I did Amazon Prime.
I did Amazon too.
So there may be a point in the future, if this is still streaming, that the music rights, those rights go away. And because not every streaming service and platform has those rights in perpetuity, but the physical copies do. And I can't imagine that there's so much storytelling with the songs. And even if it's not storytelling, but moments that are happening, even with Knock 3 Times, it was originally going to be a Diana Ross song, but they couldn't sync up the lyrics. The lyrics were too difficult for the girls at the time. It's a shared moment. I feel like we all do it. I think of the Eras Tour when they're ringing the bell or they're clapping. People do that with Shake It Off. There's moments that you get to share and community, and they're doing that with these songs. And I think it's just, again, the storytelling is wonderful. The story itself transcends, because female friendships transcend and they endure. And I think it's something beautiful that, again, if, it's something we love to continue to foster and grow and discuss here on the podcast.
Absolutely. Do you have any fun facts?
I sprinkled them in during our conversations, so I didn't do a full recap, but they're there.
They're there. This is one of those, I think, one of the last kind of great girlhood coming of age movies. I know we've mentioned Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants is the other one that kind of immediately comes to mind. And again, with the disappearance of this genre, the disappearance of the third place, it is very evident in the rise of the Sephora teens that there is a need for a third place. There is a need to let preteens be preteens and to not force them into teenage adulthood. And I do think that these types of movies, not necessarily set in 1970, I understand, but these types of girlhood movies are important. And I don't necessarily know what that looks like now, but I would be interested to really kind of research into modern day coming of age things, because honestly, is it just like the summer that I turned pretty? Is it just boy stuff now? Or do we have like girl stuff like that?
I mean, that's a bigger conversation because I also feel like tween media added to that in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, even before that, you had, the pop culture teen magazines of Tiger Beat and Teen Beat, and that went away. And I feel like that third space teen media has also, it's not there. Teen People isn't there. 17 is, I don't even think there's physical copies of it anymore. I think it's digital. And I feel like that led, and that helped lead those spaces because it was like, okay, well, what do we do? Oh, I actually read this thing in this magazine. You see it now. It's like, let's have a clothing exchange party and we'll all go to somebody's house and we'll bring something over. But sometimes it also becomes an accessibility conversation. So, which that could be its own, it's constant. It should be constantly something that we're discussing. But with all of that being said, feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're happy to continue these conversations. Feel free to DM us. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura, ACOFAE Jessica. Feel free to rate us 5 stars on whatever listening platforms you are enjoying. We'd so appreciate it. Thanks, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.